Hi, welcome to Yomi. Back in the summer of 1990, I moved to Osaka. I was 24, was recently hired at a small electronics company near Namba Station. Since I was a rookie, I didn't have much money. My salary barely covered my daily expenses, and every apartment I looked at seemed impossible to afford. Tiny rooms with paper-thin walls cost more than half of my monthly paycheck. During one of those viewings, the real estate agent noticed my helpless expression and said, "If you're that desperate, there's one more place we could look at." His voice sounded hesitant. He then flipped through a stack of papers and slid a list across the desk. There was this one apartment whose rent was extremely low. "There must be some kind of mistake," I said. "Why is it so cheap?" He told me that it was an old building and it's been vacant for a while. He had a nervous expression and slightly stuttered while talking. I knew he was hiding something, but I was really desperate, so I ended up signing the lease the same day. The apartment building was in a quiet alley not far from the train tracks. It was made of all concrete and stained by years of rain and humidity. The hallways smelled of mold and was a bit unmanned. The apartment itself wasn't bad at all, considering how cheap it was. The living was a well-lit room, quite small but clean. The bathroom large enough to turn around, and an independent kitchen area with an all-white fridge. The landlord handed me the keys and said, "If you have any problems, just call me," and gave me a piece of paper with his number. Before leaving, I noticed how his eyes lingered on the fridge. I thought it was strange, but didn't think too much about it. At the beginning, everything went smooth. I unpacked my stuff, went to work, and came home exhausted. I followed this cycle for 3 nights until the incident of the 4th night happened. After midnight, a faint noise woke me up. I initially thought it came from the outside. It wouldn't be strange as I was living near the train tracks, but then I heard it again. That noise came from the kitchen. It sounded like something lightly hitting plastic. Half asleep, I got up and walked over to check everything was alright. When I walked in, the fridge door was slightly open. I assumed I hadn't closed it properly and shut it. Then I went back to bed. The next morning, I found the milk carton empty. "It's impossible," I said. "I just took a few sips yesterday." Whatever. I threw it away and forgot about it. The following night, the same tapping noise woke me up again. This time I woke up faster, trying to make as little noise as possible. When I stepped into the kitchen, the fridge door was wide open and cold air filled the room. Could it be that the latch was broken? I pushed it closed much harder this time and went back to bed. A few days later, other strange things happened. My food started to disappear. A pack of pork slices was half gone. Ramen cups were missing and all my onigiris gone. If I lived alone, how was this even possible? I didn't find any mice droppings or insect signs, much less pests. I was running out of options. The only thing I was certain is that the disappearance had to do with the tapping, the same sound that came from the fridge and always happened after midnight. I became obsessed with the fridge. I inspected it from every angle but found nothing. 2 weeks passed and I barely had any sleep. One night I decided I had enough. I was determined to find out what was going on, so I placed some groceries on the table and waited. I turned off the lights, sat on the living room floor waiting in a corner looking at the fridge. The apartment was dead silent. I could only hear my own heartbeats and the distant rumble of trains. Then I heard. My heart beat faster. The fridge slightly trembled. At first I thought it was the motor started vibrating, but then the door slowly opened. A cold gust of air drifted into the room and something emerged from the darkness. A slender hand slid out onto the kitchen floor. The skin was pale and loose, the fingers swollen and cracked, and the nails black. My whole body was paralyzed as I saw how the arm dragged itself forward. Then the rest was visible. It was something I can only describe as an old female-shaped humanoid figure with broken teeth and insects crawling all over. She approached to the groceries and began tearing them apart with its humongous mouth. The disgusting chewing sound filled the kitchen. I couldn't move or breathe. I could only stare at it for what it felt like hours. Finally, she crawled back towards the fridge, and as she went in, the thing stopped against the plastic shelves. Once morning came, I immediately called the landlord. I tried my best to explain what happened. Sometimes I felt like my voice was fading away or I was about to faint. After that, he calmly explained. Several years ago, an old lady disappeared in that apartment. Her body wasn't discovered for a long time until a tenant smelled a stench rising from the floor. The corpse was finally removed, but it never had a proper burial because she was an elder with no relatives. A storm of thoughts filled my head. I considered moving out. I really did, but I couldn't afford living anywhere else. So that night, I bought extra food and left it on the table. When the tapping started, I stayed in my room with my eyes closed, waiting for the sound to stop. In the morning, the food was gone and the fridge door was closed. After 3 months, I learned the pattern. She comes out around midnight, eats whatever I left, and then it goes back inside. Sometimes I hear some intense tapping, sometimes a grotesque chewing. I don't sleep much anymore, but the rent is so cheap and in Osaka that kind of price is impossible to find. If you have any horror stories, do not hesitate to send me a message via Gmail. I will be more than glad to share your story here in the channel. This is Yomi, and you may leave now.